We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes. Men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
And now, Reality Rants with Jason Bermas.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
We are live. It is Reality Rants, the day after the selection. And just as I warned people, as I said to people, hey, nothing's changed in the infrastructure. Hey, we haven't gotten rid of the machines. Hey, the same people are in charge. Hey, we need to take a step back. Hey, they're telling us it might take days in some of these key elections. And it looks like in Arizona in particular with Kari Lake, although they want her to concede, Kari Lake is not conceding. And big ups to her. She's a fighter. She's the real deal. In fact, last night, if you watched our coverage, I was watching C-SPAN Live. We played her speech and what she had to say. And there were plenty of shenanigans yesterday, wasn't there? Oh, the machines aren't working. Oh, just put your ballot over here. We'll get to it later. No big deal. And there were points they tried to show her down by 12, 13, almost 14%. When in polls, not only was she neck and neck in a lot of them, she was ahead. She had national coverage like no other. Tons of people showing up to her events. Nope, lost. Nope, lost. Supposedly. Now again, that one is not official. We'll show you some of the official tallies, but by no means, zero means a red wave. And guys, I said it before, even if there was a red wave, the vast majority of these people are in the pockets of the predator class. They're saying Fetterman won. Fetterneck, the man who can barely speak. Let me repeat this. A man who can barely speak. We're going to show you 6 minutes of his speech last night, his victory speech, where actually, at least in the first couple minutes, he sounds way better than he usually does. Still way off and almost childlike and repeating himself. I want to thank you and everybody who came out to vote. State of Pennsylvania, blah, 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 blah. But they're telling you that's the guy. The guy that clearly can barely speak, can't comprehend what people are saying around him to the point where they have a prompter for everything. His policies are awful. His talking points are worse. We followed that one because it was just so over the top. So over the top. I mean, wow, over the top. So we're going to play that clip. We got some other news stories outside of the election. We have this Financial Times piece, which is extensive, by Tim Schwab. Tim has done amazing work on Bill Gates where no other mainstream journalist has gone. He's a freelance reporter. This one, I believe it's in The Nation, is it not? Yes, over in The Nation. published The Gates Foundation Avoids a Reckoning on Race and Power. And really, this guy is one of the few people pointing out the media influence of Bill Gates, the hypocrisy of Bill Gates, and why we shouldn't trust this quote-unquote benevolent billionaire. But before we get there and we go down the line of other election stories and clips, I want to play this because this shows how absurd everything is, okay? The absurdity of the world we live in, the post-truth world. It basically couldn't get any worse on the surface, and yet that red wave didn't come. The one that people have been talking about for month upon month upon, there will be a reckoning. Red tsunami. Red tsunami. And look, I'm around a lot of these people. Not often, but when I'm speaking at a Clay Clark Reawaken America event, and there are these people up on stage, and they're constantly talking about Republicans and conservatives, and we need to do this, and there's no doubt that's going to happen. I'm always really skeptical. And to Lindell's credit, okay, everybody wants to come down on the pillow guy. To Lindell's credit, he was one of the few people being like, hey, by the way, nothing has changed. These voting machines and corrupt systems are still totally in play. Hey, it's 2 years later. We're in the midterms. Hey, that's how quick it goes, folks. Think about that. That's how quick it goes. It's been 2 years. 2 years since Trump-Biden 2020. Like that. That's why I really do tell people that you got to be your own hero. You got to do your own thing. You got to realize time is the commodity. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't get to kick back, watch a game, relax, check out a movie, enjoy a TV series, pop in a video game. All that's fine in moderation. What you don't want is your life to become that. What you want to do in your life is find your passion and then work towards that. And when you find injustices in the world that you know in your heart of heart are not only going on, taking place, but making things worse and affecting you and your family and your friends and your neighbors, you have to step up to the plate. You have to point out the problems, the corruption, and you got to be part of the solution. You can't just sit back and say, we're going to do it, red wave. Red wave. So this is a tweet from Ivory Hecker. I met Ivory very briefly at one of the Clay Clark business events. Not one of the Reawaken America tour deals, but one of those things where he was showing people how they could expand their podcast, internetwork with people. And actually, I got a couple emails just yesterday of some of the people I met on that. I'm hoping to connect with them over the week and the weekend. But this clip really sums it up. Ivory was, she got a blue check mark for a reason. She was a local journalist that during the nightmare of the past 2.5 years, just like Carrie Lake, said, I'm part of this media military industrial complex, even though it's localized, where I'm not allowed to say certain things and I can't talk about certain issues. And that's not good. So I'm going to tell you guys on air right now what's going on, even if it costs me my job. Fantastic. Need more of that. That's important. So let's just play this clip, and I want really what's said here to sink in.
So think about this. We have the worst inflation in 4 decades, the worst collapse in real wages in 40 years, the worst crime wave since the 1990s, the worst border crisis in U.S. history. We have Joe Biden, who is the least popular president since Harry Truman, since presidential polling happened, and there wasn't a red wave. That is a searing indictment of the Republican Party.
I don't know that it's a searing indictment of the Republican Party. It's a searing indictment of the system, of the left-right paradigm, of the systems that we use to cast and then count the votes. I think it's an indictment on that. Let's bring it all the way back to the beginning, and we'll let him finish up. Again, think about everything he's saying. First of all, 2 years ago, Joe Biden, not in any polls or anything, not by a show of hands, not by any rallies, was the most popular president of all time. Most. 81 million votes. 81 million votes for Zombie J, the poopy pants puppet who could barely speak, didn't really go out on the campaign trail, couldn't get a website out during the primaries. 300 Joe. You got to let him know to put the record player on for the baby. That guy. Most popular just 2 years ago. And that's the thing. For people like this to sit up there and buy into any talking points of the post-truth world. Oh, the Republican Party's really got to get it together. You're not allowed to talk about corruption, right? Unless it's in favor of an establishment narrative. You're not allowed to, you'll get pre-bunked if you dare to say there was election fraud. And let me remind people that in the 2020 election, what was the talking point? It wasn't that there was no corruption, right? It wasn't that there was no voter fraud. They would say things like, this is the most secure election in history. And then when they cross-examined the people that said that, they admitted that was just a talking point. That was a farce that had nothing really to do with any of the subject matters they didn't want to say. They were talking about whether Russians hacked the election. Oh, the Russians. Ooh. Old poot-poot. That's the safe and secure election. What was the other big talking point that most people forget? They would say there's no evidence of, quote unquote, you ready for it? Widespread voter fraud. So what that essentially meant is you can show us all the evidence in the world of corruption, anomalies, invalid votes, unconstitutional activities. It's just not widespread enough. And that in itself, widespread, is what? Something that is up for interpretation. They love it when it's up for interpretation. Safe and effective. Most secure ever. Bernaysian talking points dominate our media. Dominate it. This is full-on psychological warfare. But again, let's hear what he has to say. To me, the irony isn't the Republican Party just doesn't have it together. The irony is we haven't fixed the system. We haven't fixed the system from 2020. We haven't fixed the system from 2004 when we started putting in these Diebold machines, black box voting, Bev Harris, fractional voting. Never fixed it. Made it worse. Made it more widespread. Expanded the program. You get it? So let's listen to it again.
So think about this. We have the worst inflation in 4 decades, the worst collapse in real wages in 40 years, the worst crime wave since the 1990s, the worst border crisis in U.S. history. We have Joe Biden, who is the least popular president since Harry Truman, since presidential polling happened, and there wasn't a red wave. That is a searing indictment of the Republican Party. That is a searing indictment of the message that we have been sending to the voters. They looked at all of that and looked at the Republican alternative and said, no thanks.
Again, it's those talking points at the end that really kill me. I want to thank Adam Dees. He says, appreciate you, man, over on Rockfin. No, I appreciate you and supporting me over there. Remember, second hour will be exclusive. Reality Rant's second hour exclusive over at redvoicemedia.com/Jason. That's where you can sign up for $1 for the first week, $10 for the month. We're doing it 4 days a week. And when we move over to that end of the broadcast, I've got this Clay Clark interview that we're going to play start to finish. Originally, Ian Crossland was supposed to be on the program today. I got the old 4:30 a.m. DM. The old 4:30 a.m. DM canceling. It happens, guys. We're going to try to reschedule it. I'd like to interview him this afternoon so you can get that juicy interview tomorrow. We'll see about it. Almost 300 people watching, not even 100 thumbs up on YouTube. Let's get them up. So let's move down the line to other repulsive figures. Meghan McCain would be one of those repulsive figures. Not a fan of her father, not a fan of her. And by the way, both the left and the right, the conservatives and the liberals, in some cases, have tried to make Meghan McCain into a media darling. Meghan McCain was on The View for a reason. MAGA is poison. Oh, making America great again is poison. And then this other blue check mark, I have no idea who it is. I voted red. Second time in my life. Tons of other LGBT people are as well. Oh, so this is an LGBT blue check mark. Big deal. That's a big deal. Red doesn't mean MAGA, and MAGA doesn't mean red. God, this woman's awful. R. Tom sends me a $5 trip. Speaking truth, brother. Thank you so much. So Meghan McCain is one of these people that is pro-war, pro-authoritarianism, all right, has no business coming down on those that would support a populist candidate. Trump's far from perfect. Hey, Trump was throwing a little party last night. I think probably about, we went live at 11 Central, so that was midnight. I think he probably came out about an hour before that, 11 Eastern, 10:30 Eastern, somewhere in there, talking about Ron DeSantis. Great job, Ron. Great job, Florida. We did it. We did it. Hey, the country's bigger than Florida, and Ron DeSantis, for all of his good policies, isn't perfect, isn't the best. Is he better than 90% of what's out there? You bet he is. You bet he is. Does that mean much? No. Rand Paul, to me, still the number one stunner in mainstream politics, and he ran away with it last night. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who they demonized, ran away with it last night. And then you got the cretins on the coasts, right? Kelly Hochul beat Zeldin. Not a Zeldin fan, not a BlackRock guy. And they had her early on just decimating Zeldin. Didn't even make it close. And then as they knew that they'd already gotten their little narrative out there, and I'm sorry, folks, I think that New York's elections are completely controlled. They let Zeldin catch up a bit. Still, I think, loses by 3.5%, 4% to Kelly Hochul, a person that was not on anybody's radar in New York, let alone nationally, was never popular at all. Read the script Fetterman style, only she could actually read, at a fourth grade level, because she didn't stroke out. She liked to wear a little necklace, though, and prance around with her authoritarian dictates, right? She loved that. Cover up for Andrew Capo Cuomo, New York serial killer. I mean, a legit serial killer. His policies killed so many people. And that scandal, no, we're not. You know what? We did an investigation. He was fine. It's the investigation into him playing grab ass that we should worry about. Let's Me Too him. And then he comes back 6 months, a year later after that whole fiasco, sues New York. He's probably going to get all his money back. That's how the system works. They protect their own. And Meghan McCain is very much a part of that system. Gross. Very much a part of her father's legacy. So here you have one of the establishment candidates losing and conceding. Lost, I believe, to J.D. Vance. Okay, and J.D. Vance was another one of those ultra-popular new people out there. It seems like everybody outside of Arizona that was ultra-popular and new that was showing up on like Tucker Carlson and all these other shows, they dominated. They won. Not in Arizona for some reason. Now, I couldn't disagree with this guy more and more, other than in the fact that if you actually lost, okay? If you actually lost, if you actually know you lost, if we had a free and fair election, one person, one vote, paper ballots, checks and balances, that would be great. This guy just got dominated because of bad policy, all right? And to basically take a hot steaming dump on people like Carrie Lake, who are fighters, makes me upset. And obviously this person is also alluding to Trump and MAGA. Trump's not a Trump and the big lie. Can't question the 2020 election. It was just fortified.
I have a privilege right now, a privilege, as someone who was the Democratic nominee. I have the privilege to concede this race to J.D. Vance, because the way this country operates is that when you lose an election, you concede, and you respect.
You respect that there has been a zombie poopy pants puppet installed who was an establishment government gangster on behalf of a globalist agenda. It's funny. We had Todd McGreevy on from the RC Reader yesterday, and I had done a video previously this week where I highlighted Joe Biden's op-ed, How I Learned to Love the New World Order from 1993, where he not only espouses that we need to empower the UN Charter, breathe life into it, by quotes, but how great Dick Cheney is from back in the day. You know what? Dick Cheney, woohoo! Bush administration won. Forget about the W, we got the HW. And the headline is How I Learned to Love the New World Order. It's all about globalism. And I was with another friend of mine, and I guess that Todd couldn't find the original article. It's real. It's not a fake scan. It's the real deal. It's the real deal so much. In fact, we're going to do it live. We'll do it live, folks. Bring this up. It got a nice little Snopes. And the Snopes is much like the other Joe Biden Snopes from USA Today, you know, the authoritative fact checkers, that they didn't want to play the clip of Joe Biden saying it might take several days for certain elections to be counted. They didn't want to play that clip. Instead, they fact-checked and said, hey, he said to be patient. Well, the fact check for this one on How I Learned to Love the New World Order is even better. It's even better. It acknowledges the article exists, but it's like, you know what? Joe loves America. He wasn't talking about destroying it. No, he wasn't espousing globalism. No. Oh, it's been taken out of context. Everything's always taken out of context. So here we go. How I Learned to Love the New World Order, Biden. Let's just make sure that the actual article doesn't come up first, right? We don't want that. No. No. No, 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 no. We don't get that at all. So we get a fact check instead from Snopes to destroy national sovereignty. So here's actually the scan that I used here. And nowhere in the scan or anything that we read did we talk about Joe Biden wanting to destroy national sovereignty. Although that is the goal set of the United Nations and its charter, to eventually have global governance in which the United States has bent the knee and is subservient to their governance, their bureaucracy, their idea of what it means to regiment human beings, okay? So, like they got the false right there. He didn't say that. He didn't say that. No, he said he wanted to breathe life into the UN Charter, which does want to destroy national sovereignty in the United States. I mean, come on. The article argues against America's role as a globocop that resorts to military intervention and calls for greater economic strength and robust diplomacy. Let me explain what that really means. First of all, Joe Biden got behind every single one of these military conflicts, including the war of terror. Make no mistake about it. Joe Biden met with one of the money men behind 9/11. Say it with me. Joe Biden met with one of the money men behind 9/11. No repercussions. Bragged about it. Bragged about it. And when they talk about the United States as the globocop, no, let's transition and allow NATO and the United Nations to become the globocops. So if the pesky American citizens, all these domestic terrorists, get out of line, we don't have to utilize our military in full. We'll just team up with theirs. Okay? We'll just team up with theirs. Lovely. So these are the things that get a fact check. The scan is real, Todd. I can send you the article. Something that I actually highlighted in my film, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined. So let's keep going down the line of actual news. And then we're going to get to Fetterman. And we're painfully going to play his 6 minutes. They did it. They got the East Coast. They did it. Fetterman. I mean, I'm not trying to pick on the way the guy physically looks, but he's clearly not fit for office. And it's not because he looks like something out of a 1970s science fiction film. It's not why. Again, his policies are awful. He's a complete and total empty vessel. He can't understand when people talk to him. You can't understand what he's saying when he talks back the majority of the time. That's the problem with that guy. That's the problem with that guy. All right? But I did want to remind people, and we're going to get to this Gates article that's going to be the hefty meat of the second half of this first hour. Remember, come over to redvoicemedia.com/Jason for the second hour, or you can listen to it for free over on Podbean. We're going to be playing that Clay Clark interview. Just a reminder, the war of terror continues. Okay, the war of terror continues, and people are dying overseas. What? Due to death showers from above via drone warfare and more. And this continues to happen in Syria. And they kill civilians there as well. Just want to throw that out there. You're not going to be able to hear or see much, but you can see that this is on fire. All right? So supposedly this is a civilian oil ship, Syria, the forgotten war that never was, right? The forgotten war that never was. People don't know about the Central Intelligence Agency, Operation Timber Sycamore. No, they listen to the authoritative sources, and they say Assad gassed his own people. Assad's a Putin puppet. We don't like Assad. And Assad's not perfect either. But he's actually a very intelligent man that speaks English much better than John Fetterman. Much better than John Fetterman. Is very secular in his ways. And hey, kind of a populist for his people. But again, our narrative, brutal dictator gas his own people. Brutal dictator gas his own people. Dooma, 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 dooma. Got news for everybody. There was no chemical attack in Douma. And that was a big failure on Trump. Remember that? 2017, I believe. Trump starts getting out there saying, you know what? It's time to leave Syria. Time to get out of Syria. Said it a couple times in a couple speeches. What happens? Oh, all of a sudden there's this supposed attack in Douma. Chemicals. Assad. Chemical. Pearson Sharp of One American News goes over there, sees no evidence of any type of attack, let alone chemical, actually interviews one of the children who's on the infamous video where all these kids are crying in a doctor's office where they say that they've succumbed to a chemical attack. Kid's fine. Sitting there with his dad. Talks about how he and his friends were playing on the street, doused with water, dragged into the room and filmed. Just, you can't make bizarro world stuff up like that. And then you got Mattis, the Emperor Palpatine-looking mother trucker out there, admitting in hearings they're not even sure an attack happened. And then Pearson Sharp, again, who's apparently doing better work than our intelligence on the ground, right? Totally blows that story out of the water. What's CNN do? They got a reporter there sniffing backpacks, saying it smells like bleach or chlorine. Oh, you can tell. Ooh, you can tell a chemical attack happened here. Cartoon level shit. Cartoon level shit. Now, before we go down the line, some more of these stories, and we get over to Fetterman, we really get into the meat and potatoes of the Bill and Melinda Gates article, which I think is extremely important. I wanted to go over this. British financier Evelyn de Rothschild dies aged 91. You want to talk about a player behind the scenes? This guy was one of them. Lived a long life. A lot of these people do. A lot of these predator class people, they live a long life. Guess what? It ends. The show ends. The rest of the show, like Queen said, the show must go on. Everybody's little personal preview, it goes away, right? Time, Father Time, is the ultimate grand champion. You get one shot at the title, one run down the line. There's no going back. And the deal is, unfortunately, you can't take it with you, can you? It's not just about what kind of car you drove or how many houses you had. No, no, no. What legacy do you truly leave? And that's why we highlight transhumanism so much here, because really, at the apex of that predator class, people like de Rothschild and others, they want to live forever. They think they can live forever. And they think in order to do that, they need to manage the masses, okay, in a command and control social credit and carbon credit score system. In fact, we're going to show you that NEOM, which we highlighted yesterday, we showed the video to Todd, that has one of those sustainable cities, is just loving COP27, okay, over in their little climate agenda thing. Oh, we love it. Sustainability. They're going to push our agenda. That's for us. While these people try to make technology where they never die. Okay? Can you imagine a world where a guy like Rothschild never dies? A guy like Kissinger, who's 100 years old, never dies? A guy like David Rockefeller, who made it to 101, never dies? That's a scary planet. And that's why, we played a couple days ago, The Great Dictator and Charlie Chaplin. We highlighted that part of his speech. He said, as long as men die, then dictators die, and power will return to the people. What if we actually get to a society where guys like this don't die? Or physically, people like this die, but they've programmed artificial intelligence, okay, AI, with their agendas, okay, which, look, the AI is going to do what AI is programmed to do. Everybody thinks it's going to be autonomous, all that other stuff. No, it's going to be part of an agenda. But let's say it gets out of control, and these people don't achieve their transhumanist grand champion status of biologically living forever. That AI is going nowhere. That technology is going nowhere. So that's an example, okay, of an artificial intelligence dictator that would never die at all, ever. Big problem. Big problem. Big issue. Something we should talk about. So, NEOM and the line. It's the line. Oh, an event that shares our values, COP27, is the perfect place to reveal NEOM's vision of a sustainable future. Oh, a sustainable future where you have a dystopic city grid system consolidated with a maglev train that restricts your movements on where you can go. But don't worry, you'll have an equitable view in your glass city of technology. The mission of COP27 fits squarely with NEOM's ambition, and we are actively seeking to collaborate on driving sustainable urban-built environments and infrastructure. Professor Richard Bush, Chief Environment Officer at NEOM. These guys don't give a flipple-schnick, a fuckle-schnuck about the environment, about the planet, about the air quality, about the water you drink and you bathe in. They don't care. They don't care, other than they want to restrict you from any of it that's good. That's what they care about. That's the reality. 375 watching the morning show. Can we get 200 thumbs up as we jump over to John Fetterman? Okay? Now I'm going to say it again. Fetterman actually speaks better than he has in the past couple weeks, at least that I've seen him. In this, starts to repeat himself a bit about a minute and a half, 2 minutes in. What do you expect? John Fetterman's not expected to speak for more than 5 minutes, but this is the guy that is currently being installed as a senator in Pennsylvania. This is the guy, they were telling you yesterday, got 90+% of the vote in Philadelphia.
Like what is it? It's like 1:30 in the morning and you're still here hanging in? We launched this campaign almost 2 years ago. And we had our slogan. It's on every one of those signs right now. Every county, every vote. Every county, every vote.
I mean, that's a solid 30 seconds right there from Fetterman. Every county, every vote. He even got off like a little slogan for the campaign. Every county, every vote. Even if it's from a dead person, or it's from a person that's not from that county, or it's a digital vote that got fractionally repositioned. Every county, every vote. Because, folks, in a world of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. This is an old school InfoWars shirt. Let's go back to it.
And that's exactly what happened. We jammed them up. We held the line. I never expected that we were going to turn these red counties blue, but we did what we needed to do, and we had that conversation across every one of those counties.
Somehow turning red districts blue is having a conversation with every one of those counties. This is where, again, it got to almost a minute, so obviously he's going to start losing it and repeating himself because he can barely speak.
And tonight, that's why I'll be the next U.S. Senator from Pennsylvania. Thanks to all of you. All of you. Thank you. Thank you so much. It made me grateful right now. And I want to thank, of course, all these supporters all across Pennsylvania, all in this room, all across the nation, everyone that chipped in $10 to help us get here. Thank you.
So let's thank all the donors that saw that I was completely and totally physically and mentally unfit to serve, that literally pumped my campaign full of cashola from around the country, which he also thanked there, if you could understand that rambling. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. You, my voters, people.
And also I also really want to thank my family. My mother, my father, Carl.
My mother, I can't barely say my father. He's having trouble pointing out and thanking his family. This is the next senator in Pennsylvania.
Susan. My brother Greg. Where's Giselle? Where's Giselle? Everyone's favorite, yeah, Giselle. Who 6 months ago, she saved my life. Walking out of a Sheetz bathroom, she recognized what was happening. And also, and my children, Carl, Grace, August, hey.
Hard to watch, but we're watching it. Hard to watch, but we're watching it.
So everyone, and just thank you. And I also want to I also want to thank my team as well, the best team. So many names, Brendan, my campaign manager. Rebecca, Bobby, Joe, Jason, everybody, all my team. So many that made that part of it. And also thank all of the supporters. Also, I'm just so proud of the race that we ran.
I don't know how you can be proud of that race. You can barely speak right now. Are you happy that the American people will now be further humiliated with somebody that may visually be worse than Joe Biden? Is that the big win? Is that the big achievement? Maybe. Maybe.
And, this campaign has always been about fighting for everyone who's ever been knocked down that ever got back up. This race is for the future of every community all across Pennsylvania. For every small town or person that ever felt left behind.
I'm from a small town. This one's not for me. Everybody's felt left behind at some point. I'm sure there's some people out there, John, that aren't quite celebrating that somebody who is on the level of an invalidic child at this point is taking the reins in the U.S. Senate. I'm sure there's some people like myself a little concerned, John, that came from small towns and have been left behind. This one's not for me.
For every job that was ever been lost, for every factory that was ever closed, for every person that works hard but never ever get ahead, I'm proud of what we ran on. Protecting a woman's right to choose, raising our minimum wage, fighting the union way of life. Healthcare is a fundamental human right. It saved my life, and it should all be there for you when you ever should need it. Standing up to corporate greed?
Yeah, they're not standing up to corporate greed. This guy is a wealthy guy. And I've said it before. If you have some kind of trauma, car accident, stroke, heart attack, that's where you want to be, in the hospital. Who knows what the circumstances were, but I'm sure the fact that his parents had quite the bank account didn't hurt in, quote-unquote, saving his life.
Making more things right here in America and right here in Pennsylvania. And standing up for our democracy. 20 years ago, I came to Braddock to start a GED program. And I've spent these last 2 decades fighting for the forgotten communities. Because no community deserves to be left behind. No one deserves to be abandoned. And every place matters.
Every place matters. I mean, again, hard to watch. A little less than a minute left on this one. And then we're going to get to where we stand in the Georgia Senate election with Herschel Walker and Raphael Warnock.
And I want to thank all of you amazing supporters. All of you and all watching and
I can't
We
talk.
bet on the people of Pennsylvania, and you didn't let us down.
All right, that's enough from John Fetterman. So last night, we saw Warnock come out and said there'd be some fighting to do. Walker initially came out and said, hey, I'm Ricky Bobby. We're here to win. Right now they're saying 96% in, and Warnock up by just under 20,000 votes. Again, everybody who was saying, red wave, what infrastructure changed? Is this the wake-up call for all you conservatives and all you Republicans and all you mainliners out there? that we can't have these voting machines around anymore. We can't normalize mail-in voting, that we need a system where you have to show up in person, you have to show some kind of identification, you cast a paper ballot, and then that paper ballot is counted by a human being, which is checked by another human being. Is that so tough? Seems like a lot of other, modern countries over the last century plus figured that out. They figured that out. We can't. We just can't. And that's why a lot of this was completely delusional in my eyes. And I said so. I want to move over here to Carrie Lake. Carrie Lake tears into cheaters and crooks and says she will keep fighting to make elections free and fair as she falls behind Democratic rival Katie Hobbs in the Arizona governor race and zeroes in on broken voting machines. I mean, broken. Is it broken or is it a feature? All right, and I'll say it again. That's a stand-up person right there. She's a fighter. I'm glad we have her. And when I say we, I don't mean conservatives or Republicans. I get it. I'm on Red Voice Media. That's not what I mean. I mean, as an American, I'm glad that I saw somebody who was part of the local media, saw the corruption, came out against it, ran a strong campaign, stood up to the bullies in the mainstream, embarrassed a slew of wannabe young reporters when they tried to corner her with bullshit questions and talking points. And basically, look, this whole election denier and the big lie, that's to try to associate you with Holocaust denialism, all right, and Nazi tactics. That's what that is. That is psychological warfare, and that's what they did to her. That's another reason that the running narrative is white supremacy, white supremacy, white supremacy, domestic terror, white supremacy, white supremacy, white supremacy, domestic terror, democracy, democracy, democracy. Get out of here with that. Get out of here with that. Couple other stories that I wanted to hit here, and maybe we'll read the Financial Times Gates article on the flip side of the second hour. The Clay Clark interviews about a half an hour. Again, if you want to see that in full, you can do so by going to redvoicemedia.com/Jason, signing up there. That's how you see it. You can watch it 100%, or I'm sorry, listen to it 100% freestyle. Okay, freestyle. Where at? Right over here at Podbean. You can also maybe call in if you want to try to call in. It's on your little magic box. There's an app. You get the Podbean app. You call into the show. We talk about what you want to talk about. So it's also got the archives of the second hour in audio form. And Monday of this coming week, that's when we're going to start releasing the video archives of the second hour daily, also at Red Voice Media. So once again, consider supporting me over there. Now, exclusive. Are hand sanitizers a cancer risk? Thousands of gels and sprays have been recalled since 2021 because they may contain deadly chemical after becoming everyday essential during you know what. Oh, you mean the things made in China, South Korea, and the U.S. were recalled after contamination? You know how many times I used hand sanitizer? Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-a. Didn't have it around, didn't give a rat's ass about it, did my own thing. I'm a hand washer. I take at least one shower a day, sometimes two if it's a rough one. If I'm stinky, smelly, I've done some things with my hand, gone to the bathroom, I'm cooking food, I wash my hands. It drove me absolutely bonkers. Absolutely bonkers that even in places that had relatively decent policies, okay, relatively decent policies when it came to COVID, 1984, that I'd still see hand mother truck and sanitizer everywhere. You know how annoying it was? Even being at a bar, I moved to Iowa, certain bar I really like down at the Village, And I still, right on the bar, all over the place, like 5 hand sanitizers. And I literally see people come in, and that's the first thing they would do. What are you? First of all, it smells nasty. All right? It smells like alcohol. It smells like you cut yourself or something. All right? You had to clean up a wound. It's not even a good smell. And then the people that were so dependent on it wasn't just, at the bar I walk into Walmart, and those dispensers are there. And the first person the person does, who's got 3 masks on their goddamn face, is to go right over there and sometimes they got gloves to put on after they do that to go around their little cart. Madness. And now you're telling me, Daily Mail, that this end-all be-all, this savior, remember they were telling you it was going to live on surfaces for 2 weeks. Be afraid, be scared. But don't worry, hand sanitizer is going to fix it. Hand sanitizer. I remember when Andrew Capo Cuomo was bragging about New York State's initiative to have free hand sanitizer for everybody, and they were going to produce it over in the prison system, which they did. And then he would take it out in his little conferences. He'd put it on. Oh, yeah. So we're going to keep an eye on this one. Are hand sanitizers a cancer risk? I would say they might be. Just maybe. Maybe there's a chance. Maybe a small chance of that. Want to talk a little bit of crypto, because a big thing happened in crypto. This is not the first time we've seen it. In fact, we've seen it more and more over the past few months. I believe Solana was one of the big crypto crashes out there. And yesterday, FTX, the CEO went from 16 billion to 1 billion, and FTX just shot down. More than 75% of its value went away, went down to $5. I saw Ben Askren tweeting about this. And this is what I'm going to say. I'm not saying that all crypto is bad. I'm not saying all crypto is good. I'm just telling people that it is as an easily manipulated market, sometimes easier, than the New York Stock Exchange, than the NASDAQ. Do you understand? People collude here as well. Pump and dump scams happen there as well. And when Ethereum and Bitcoin took a 10% hit yesterday, this gonzo. And as far as other places in the crypto space, this other story I wanted to go over really quickly is as such. All right. Oh, sorry, folks. Entrepreneur torched $10 million free-to-call drawing at his Miami mansion in failed publicity stunt that he hoped would sell 10,000 NFTs, but only sold 4. Wow. Here's the thing. This NFT market. I've seen some people make some real money on the NFT market. Good for them. I got a particular Facebook friend. He's in the comic book business, real entrepreneur type guy. Did very well with NFTs. Probably 6 months to a year ago when they were super hot. Here's my big issue with non-fungible tokens. First of all, anything can be made into a non-fungible token. So anything from a viral video to a GIF to a JPEG to a piece of digital art, etc., etc. And this is a piece of digital art, but it's not a one-of-a-kind anymore. I think is absolutely absurd, especially a guy like myself who does appreciate the fine arts, and I do appreciate the art field in some respects. I'm not saying the Frida Kahlo, for instance, is one of my favorite. But this drawing, a one-of-a-kind, valued at $10 million. Okay, you got a digital copy of it. Great, I'm all for digital copies. You want to share those. To take one and try to make it into 10,000 into a profit, right, I think is absurd and insane, especially when you got rid of the physical piece. Now, I don't know about you, but as somebody that, as a kid, I was a big comic book and baseball card collector, and even today, I collect a lot of like electronics and video games. And when you do have something that's numbered like that, it does make a difference on the value. Things that are like 10,000. That's why Alex Jones does well with the man in the arena coin. As well he should. As well he should. Because I think that's a great idea. Obviously, the silver coin only has a value of like 20 to 30 bucks. But you make it limited edition. You put it out there through a certain sponsorship. That's still something physical. This, NFTs, talk about a market where I feel like the vast majority will end up being worth almost nothing. Kind of like you talk about the baseball card market. People in the 80s started saying, wow, people are making real money. Honus Wagner, we got a real collection going on. So in the early 90s, all of a sudden, even the late 80s, they flooded the market with these cards. They're worth nothing in that era. It's so hard to find a card of any actual value because they printed a ton of cards. A ton. They overprinted. But at the time, there was a craze, and people were paying like $4 to $40 for a Greg Jeffries 1988 Fleer card. Remember that era? Greg Jeffries ended up being a good player, but certainly not worth that. And certainly when you had so many of those cards out there, it's where you get those cards for like 10 cents a piece now. 10 cents a piece. Got another few stories I guess I want to hit in the last 3 minutes before we go over to premium. Again, I'm going to remind you, the links are down below. Podbean, listen for free. And if you want to watch the broadcast, you want to see the Clay Clark interview with my sunny face and Clay sunny face, please, redvoicemedia.com/Jason. Sign up for $1 for the week. And then it's $10 a month after that. Or you can sign in. Again, do it right away if you want. 1 year, $100, redvoicemedia.com/Jason, and that helps support myself individually as well. I briefly discussed this last night. I want to show the headline here. Prince Andrew accuser Virginia Roberts now says she may have made a mistake when she said she was forced to have sex with Alan Dershowitz at the bidding of Epstein, as she sensationally drops the case. All right, and I don't want to read too much into this, but Johnny Vedmore, who we had on the broadcast, I think last week, who does absolutely outstanding work, said he's about to come out with a piece on a former alleged ex-Epstein victim. I think I know who that's going to be. I don't really want to weigh in too much on that. But he also believes that a lot of people are going to start to change their stories in a bid and effort to eventually flip Ghislaine Maxwell's sentence and release her. And that would be tragic. But out of the realm of possibility, doesn't seem that way. It looks like Ghislaine played ball. Ghislaine didn't name names. Ghislaine's in a country club prison right now. Yes, there are pictures of her. Yes, she did stand trial. And yes, she's doing interviews where she's portraying herself as the victim and completely innocent. We read that article. Daily Mail exclusive. Kind of a big deal. Justin Trudeau, you know, the prime minister everybody loves in Canada. Again, let's get gaslit. Appearing on Drag Race TV show. Oh, hey, there he is. Hey, whoa! I mean, is there a bigger putz leader out there? Oh, he's just having the best time. Hey, the guy who likes to dress up like Aladdin in blackface. Yeah. The line is woman face. I don't know that there's a more absurd leader out there, right? He can speak. Obviously, there seems to be some conspiracy theories, maybe even some evidence that he's the bastard son of Fidel Castro. But I mean, this guy is just super, super absurd, period. And then we got one last story. Before we go over to the premium section, I want to invite all you people over at Rumble, Rockfin, YouTube, and Twitter to come on over. redvoicemedia.com/Jason. A slap in the face. Pfizer chief boasts to investors that they got a $10,000 markup coming up on you-know-whatski and Hutchki. And this is going to be a multi-billion-dollar franchise for many years to come. Because they love you. Because these people absolutely 100% Love you. So the way we do it here, just so we can bridge that gap, is we're going to say goodbye to you. One platform at a time as our first hour is up, and you're going to want to come over to the premium end of it. I want to thank everybody that supported me over at Rockfin with the Tipskis and Hutch, but it is time to go. We'll see you later, Rockfin. Goodbye. YouTube, it's been real as always. Can we get the thumbs up, the subscribes, the shares? We didn't even get 300 thumbs up over there. Let's get those up. Make a comment, not just in the live stream, but down below. That helps the algorithm to share the